Hey guys, it's me again. I just wanted to make an addition to the last video I said, and also do like one or two corrections from the last video. Not anything that I talked about like news-wise that needs to be corrected. I think all of that was accurate information. But in the beginning of the video, I was like, I don't think very hard about this stuff. I didn't mean when I'm doing the video that I'm not thinking hard about it. What I meant is that I don't spend a ton of time preparing beforehand doing these videos. They're kind of impromptu videos. But I think that this impromptu style video has produced some really good content. So I'm excited for this addition to the last video about democratic gaslighting techniques. And this one is going to be just kind of honing in and focusing in on um, the crackdown on freedom of speech um, by the Democratic Party and by the big tech platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all of those, right? And just remember, like, in any of my videos, I haven't cursed once. I haven't said a swear word. I haven't um, done any like sexual content or anything like that. So um, the so basically what I'm trying to say right now is like I've been posting things on Facebook like getting more political and more outspoken and even more open about my faith as well and posting stuff on Facebook and like it's not getting usually like when I post something that's the least bit controversial, I get hundreds of comments, I get hundreds of angry or dozens of angry faces, like when people can comment the emoji, the angry face emoji, or and lots of likes as well. So what? But now I'm posting stuff and I'm not getting anything. I'm not receiving, like there's zero likes. Every once in a while there's like one like or one, but I'm posting these videos and I'm not getting anything back. And I don't want to go. I don't want to say like Facebook is limiting my page, but this is why I'm doing this video. I'm going to try to keep it short, under 20 minutes again. But I'm here. I have something pulled up from Protocol, and this is a leftist article. It's definitely left leaning. It agrees with stopping the spread of misinformation, which, if you remember from last video, that just means anything that disagrees with the Democratic Party. Because first it was the elections, and then it was the COVID, right? Or maybe in reverse order. But now it's basically anything that is critical of the Democratic Party, anything that might cause people to question their motives. That is misinformation in their eyes. So I kind of am suspecting that something's going on with my Facebook, with my Instagram, um, and and I mean I think it would be like I'm not saying that my Facebook is super popular or anything like that, but I think it would be relatively easy for Facebook to target me because I've used trigger words multiple times, including Democrats, including misinformation, including all these things, and have have been targeted. I've posted multiple um, COVID related posts that flagged me, even though they literally were not misinformation. It was like a video of Boris Johnson talking, uh, or a video of Joe Biden talking. Like, how is that information? I'm posting what's actually happening. Anyways, so like this is the thing. I'm not doing this out of a spirit of fear or anxiety or a spirit of like wanting of hating my enemies. No, I love my Marxist friends. I love my Marxist family, and there's nothing they could do to me to make me stop loving them. Like, but I am going to tell the truth. I am going to voice my opinion. I am not afraid. God did not give me a spirit of fear and timidity, but He gave me a spirit of courage, a spirit of love, and a spirit of self control. So if you're watching my videos and you're like, "Oh, he hates me," no, I don't hate you. I'm simply trying to trying to tell the truth, and just trying to like help people who maybe might not be aware of this information, or even people who don't think that there is actually anything more going on. And that's my intent. It really isn't to hate people who are Democrats. I don't hate Joe Biden. I really don't. Um, I, I really dislike his policies, and I think that he is doing a terrible job as president. But I don't hate him. You know, that's kind of against my religion, right? So, anyways, um, but like I said in the Romans 13 uh, video installment, was that Romans 13 commands us to live in submission to the governing forces of our time, and to the laws of our nations. But in America, that puts us in a predicament, because if we're facing tyranny in America, the highest laws of America, which are the founding laws of our nation, which are freedom of speech, which are the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, those together command us to speak out if our rights are coming under threat. Second Amendment as well. If our right to gather in religious gatherings are being restricted, speak out. You are not only encouraged to do that as a right by our nation's laws, but you are. It was the Constitution, the Declaration, and the First Amendment require us as citizens of the United States to speak out when our rights are coming under threat. So guess what? They're coming under threat. I'm speaking out. I'm obeying the law. I'm obeying Romans 13. I'm obeying my religion. And just because the entity that is tyrannizing, that is trying to take away our freedom of speech, it's not the Republican Party, guys. It's not the conservatives. It's the Democratic Party. And I'm not saying it's you if you belong to the Democratic Party, but a lot of people who do belong to the Democratic Party, like the people who wrote this article that I'm about to talk about, they agree with this stuff. So let me just read a little bit from this article. Just proving that, like, if Facebook is targeting you or targeting me, which I'm not making the claim that it is, I have suspicions, that this is confirming those suspicions, this article. And this was back in May. Let's see. May 26th. So a little over, like, or just under 2 months. Or no, actually, today's the 26th, so 2 months ago. So it says, Facebook cracks down on misinformation superspreaders, but there are still a lot of unanswered questions about how it will work. Facebook announced Wednesday that it will now limit the spread of all posts from individual Facebook users who repeatedly share content that's been debunked by fact checkers. So again, fact checkers are not fact checkers, guys. They're partisans. They belong to the Democratic Party, and they are ensuring that the narrative continues. And anybody who contradicts what the Democratic Party says is labeled a misinformation super spreader now, which is just, this language is ridiculous. But this is from the horse's mouth, because these are people who agree with this government and big monopoly crackdown on the freedom of speech. So these are people who agree with that. So that's right. All posts, even the cat pictures. Facebook already limits the reach of individual posts that contain misinformation and levies various punishments on pages and groups that are havens for misinformation, but it hasn't so far cracked down on individual Facebook users. That matters. Research has repeatedly shown that whether it comes to COVID, vaccine misinformation, or election falsehoods, even a small handful of individuals can become super spreaders of misinformation. So again, with the election falsehoods and the COVID, now it's not even that anymore. Now it's any criticism of the Democratic Party this is extending to basically any dissent from the Democratic Party is being labeled, is being flagged, and people who are Republicans, conservatives, Christians are being targeted for censorship. Freedom of speech, guys, that's a big red flag for Americans. Left, right, or center, right? Okay, sometimes those super spreaders, you remember super spreaders was a word used for people who might have had COVID, but weren't they they didn't have any symptoms. So then kids, little kids got labeled as super spreaders. And so that was one of the fear tactics that was used by the left for describing people who could potentially, which was just anybody anywhere at any time, was potentially a super spreader of COVID. Um, they actually did a brilliant job at that. Wow, incredible. Good on them. Sometimes those super spreaders, like former President Trump, are sharing misinformation on pages, but in other cases, they're sharing posts from individual accounts with substantial reach. Until now, Facebook has taken action against the content of their posts, but not the people behind them. So President Trump, all right, there you go. President Trump, he's the main. All the onus is on him. All the evil in the world, it's his fault. So I've been, this just as a side note, but I've been uh, asked by people who know me, like, am I QAnon? No, I don't even really know what QAnon is. Or told that I'm just mimicking things that President Trump has said. I'm like, no. I voted for him in the last election, but I never really listened to the guy, and to be honest, I don't really like the guy that much. I think he did a much better job at president than Joe Biden is doing right now so far. But he wasn't targeting my freedom of speech or anything like that, but or his political opposition's freedom of speech. He wasn't targeting it. He would fire back at people who criticized him on his social media accounts, which is freedom of speech, right? So, anyways, there you go. Like, it's Trump's fault, right? And it's the people who follow him. They're the problem. They're all the problems in the world right now. So that's the narrative, guys. And if you don't go along with that, you're a misinformation super spreader. So sorry. Okay, targeting these repeat offenders is key to Facebook limiting the misinformation on the platform. So these people are partisan. They think, the people who wrote this article, they think that it is a positive thing that our freedom of speech is being targeted because they see potential misinformation as being a danger to society. Not the silencing of freedom of speech, not the revocation of the First Amendment. No, not those. Those aren't a danger. It's people who disagree with my politics. They're the real danger. Okay. Burying a single piece of misinformation does little to prevent the same thing from happening again in the future. Burying all posts from a problematic user might. Okay, so this is talking about is that before they were flagging individual posts, but now Facebook said they were going to start targeting users. So if you were to, like, if I was somebody who was targeted by Facebook and you were going to interact with me on Facebook, Facebook could either prevent you from doing that or warn you that I am a information super spreader, misinformation super spreader, and they would. So basically, like, it's just bullying. It's big tech bullying. It's government heavy-handedness. It's tyranny, right? Soft tyranny maybe, but soft tyranny becomes hard tyranny after a matter of time, right? Facebook also said it will begin alerting people if they're about to like a page that has repeatedly shared misinformation. These policies are contingent on Facebook's fact checkers actually debunking users' posts, which is, after all, a manual and sometimes spotty process. Yeah, so then they say they're going to start jumping in and telling people when they're right or wrong, and telling people what they are allowed to say and not allowed to say. That's thought policing. That's information control, information filtering, and we're already seeing it in the media. I'm like, when I'm doing these videos, I'm in a sense doing the media's job for them because they're not doing it. And I'm not a journalist. I'm not a politician. I've been a conservative for like a year, and I'm doing a better job at um, giving the real story than the New York Times, because the New York Times and CNN, all they talk about is Trump and the GOP and Republicans and Christians being evil, all the root of all evil in the world. So Facebook's fact-checking program launched in 2016 with a handful of partners and has since grown substantially, but critics have continued to point out that fact checkers are unable to keep up with the sheer volume of misinformation on Facebook. Yep, a lot of people posting a lot of things, And basically, what this is talking about is when the media was covering up things and deliberately filtering information, people started using Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube as an alternative source for their media because they were being they saw that silencing was going on, and that media manipulation of the sorry that manipulation of what was actually going on was commonplace, and so they started using their and of course things that were wrong were said. That shouldn't matter though, because hey, First Amendment. I could say the sky is yellow. I could say this tree is blue. I could say that I'm that I'm from China. It's all misinformation, but I'm allowed to say it because we have the First Amendment here, guys. So again, like, wake up. Once a given post has been fact checked, Facebook uses automation to find other posts that say contain the same debunked meme or story. And yet, those systems sometimes fail to find replicas that have been tweaked ever so slightly to evade detection. There's still a lot of unanswered questions from Facebook. How is this crackdown on individual accounts will work in practice? Man, these guys really want this to happen. That's creepy. It's unclear, for instance, how many times a user has to share misinformation in order to have their account demoted. A Facebook spokesperson said the company not sharing these details due to very real concerns about gaming the system. Well, Facebook alerts people each time they share misinformation. For now, users will have no way of knowing whether Facebook is demoting all posts from their account. Facebook says it's looking at how to properly notify users when they've reached their misinformation limit. Yep. All right, this is going to be like Facebook. Hate to break it to you guys, but you posted a lot of things that we disagree with, and so you're out. Sorry. You can't express your opinion. Good thing we still have our voices and we can actually go out in the public and say things. So as soon as they start doing that, that's going to be really scary. So again, this echoes what's going on in communist countries, deliberate silencing of alternative opinions, alternative voices, deliberately silencing anybody who deviates in the slightest from their ideology. Also, Fuzzy, what it takes for a user to get back in Facebook's good graces. If they stop sharing false content after a certain period of time, their privilege would be restored. All right, speaking of privilege, because they use the word, I got to say it. This is the only privilege this is privilege, right? This is liberal privilege happening right here. If you're liberal, if you go along with what we're saying, we'll allow you to keep on posting stuff. If you bow the knee and you apologize for saying anything that disagreed with the Democratic Party and what the Facebook gods have said, then you can be allowed to continue posting. Yeah, it's insane. This is insane, guys. If this doesn't scare you, you scare me. If this doesn't scare you, you don't understand what America is, and you don't understand what freedom of speech is. And I'm sorry. I feel sorry for you, In other news, Facebook also says the U.S. is one of the top 5 countries where influence operations originate, up there with Russia, Iran, Myanmar, and Ukraine. Oh, there's Russia again. Russia is influencing the way we're thinking. No, it's actually true that alternative companies are coming in, or alternative countries are coming in and influencing the way we think. So that was the end of that article. I might include it in the link, but you get the idea. Like, this stuff is out there. This is something that's being pushed on the American people, and it's something that we need to wake up to, or we're in trouble. Anyways, I wanted to keep this under 30 minutes. So, my videos are coming from a place of like concern, but even like I know the Lord. They could cut out my tongue, and it's not going to separate me from the love of Jesus, right? But I'm doing this because I love you guys, and because I want you to know the truth. But God bless. Take care. Like, subscribe, and that's 20 minutes. See ya.